Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, air, restoration, and flood services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit BillHowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Uncertainty is surrounding the start of a new school year, now just a few weeks away. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. A federal grant freeze is affecting districts across the country, including here in San Diego County. KPBS reporter Jacob Ayer says millions of dollars earmarked for local schools are in limbo.
More than $50 million in federal educational grant funds meant for San Diego County schools is frozen, according to the County Office of Education. Schools were expecting the money on July 1st. It's thrown a wrench into budget planning ahead of the new school year at districts across the county.
We're estimating that there's about $13 million that would come to San Diego Unified that is being withheld right now by the Trump administration.
It's affecting a wide range of programs in multiple local school districts. Richard Barrera is board vice president of San Diego Unified, the second largest school district in the state.
And this is funding specifically for programs like after school, including summer activities. It's funding to support English learners. It's funding to support teacher training.
An estimated $811 million in grant funding is due to schools in California, according to analysis by the Learning Policy Institute. Nationwide, the organization said that number is $6.2 billion for K-12 schools. Barrera says the district is currently using funding from later in the year to prevent disruptions to summer programs, but the funding freeze could be felt as soon as the beginning of the new school year.
This is money that's already been budgeted for the 25-26 year, and so if we lose it, we're going to have to make adjustments.
KPBS reached out to 10 of the largest school districts across the county and heard back from 4, including San Diego Unified. The Chula Vista Elementary School District says about $2.1 million are frozen. Poway Unified School District says about $1 million are in limbo. San Marcos Unified School District says they would be impacted minimally.
We have to make our own plans as a local district, but we're also depending and encouraging the state of California to take legal action along with other states. And remember, this is not just a blue state issue. This is all 50 states.
The Department of Education referred KPBS to the Office of Management and Budget. In a statement, an OMB spokesperson said, "This is an ongoing programmatic review of education funding. Initial findings show that many of these grant programs have been grossly misused to subsidize a radical left-wing agenda." They also said no decisions have been made yet about when the funding will be released or when the review will be completed. If Congress does not approve funding cuts within 45 days of the completed review, the law requires the administration to distribute the money as originally planned. Jacob Ayer, KPBS News.
It's going to be an increasingly hot week through Wednesday and Thursday into Friday. The heat builds in inland areas. Tonight we'll get down into the mid-60s in places like San Diego. Some low clouds will come in along the coastline. Inland areas, we only drop to 82 late tonight. But during the day, the heat will be stifling. So beginning at 10 a.m. Wednesday through 8 p.m. Thursday, we're all kind of on the same page here in inland areas. These heat advisories in orange and excessive heat warnings are on the same time scale. We'll talk about how long this lasts in just a bit.
At least 109 people have died in the catastrophic flooding in central Texas over the weekend, and officials say dozens remain missing. Mayor Bel Gonzalez is in Kerrville, Texas, following the recovery efforts.
I've never seen anything as horrific.
As search and rescue efforts in central Texas enter day 5, we're getting a clear picture of the breadth of the devastation.
Just the magnitude is unbelievable. One of the worst that I've ever seen.
According to Texas Governor Greg Abbott, more than 20 state agencies, 1,750 personnel, and more than 975 vehicles and other assets are responding to the aftermath of the flooding. While the forecast for the area has improved, crews are still struggling against the debris and the elements.
It's extremely treacherous, time-consuming, It's dirty work.
Search operations are also taking a mental toll.
Hardest part is working through the emotions. We know that there's children missing and there's families missing.
Wellness professionals are on hand to support responders as they deal with difficult recoveries. Still, crews remain hopeful that more of the unaccounted for will be found alive.
There's always hope. I've done this long enough. I've found people 4 days later and 20 foot up in a tree.
In hard-hit Kerr County, where the majority of deaths occurred, the community continues to question the timing of state officials' response to the disaster.
It was between 4 or 5 when I got notified. Okay, but prior to that, in that 3 to 4 area, my understanding is, and we're in the process of trying to put a timeline. That's going to take a little bit of time.
Maribel Gonzalez, KPBS News.
The National Weather Service in Texas says it sent out timely watches and warnings to people in the areas that flooded. The local weather service says we are prepared should floods come again. But KPBS reporter John Carroll says for some San Diegans, seeing the devastation in Texas was enough to bring back some horrible memories.
The scenes out of Texas are just about as close to incomprehensible as you can get. Water rising so fast that destruction and death were sure to follow. For former San Diego National Weather Service meteorologist Alex Tardy, it was all way too familiar. He appeared today on KPBS Midday Edition.
But the closer I looked at the data in Texas and Kerrville, they had 2.5 inches of rain in 1 hour. They had 5 inches of rain in 3 hours. That's almost identical to what we saw in San Diego on Chollas Creek, which caused all that major flooding in the San Diego region. So meteorologically, it was quite similar.
But Tardy says there were also important differences. The rain in San Diego ended after a few hours. The rain in Texas, in the middle of the night, in hilly terrain, kept pouring for hours on end.
The tragedy in Texas has brought back some terrible memories for a group of San Diegans, specifically many who lived along the Chollas Creek flood channel, which is once again filled with dirt, rocks, and overgrown vegetation.
It's re-traumatizing because you're essentially reliving your experience.
We met Jessica Calix in front of her former residence in Southcrest, just feet from the Chollas Creek. These cell phone pictures show what it looked like in her apartment on that day in January 2024.
It's really hard when you haven't experienced this type of disaster to put yourself in other people's shoes, but we can. And so we know how horrific it is. I'm living in a travel trailer and I see that whole trailer parks got washed away full of families. So it's extremely traumatic to witness.
The National Weather Service in Texas says warnings were issued for the flooded area, but it was the middle of the night and cell service in the area is said to be spotty. So how well are we prepared here should devastating floods hit again? Jessica Calix says she didn't get any warnings, but local National Weather Service meteorologist John Sook says warnings were issued here, and he says should we find ourselves in a similar situation again, the Weather Service is prepared. But he says the public must also be prepared to receive emergency messages.
That's going to be through partners like KPBS, going onto websites like National Weather Service, weather.gov. Most weather apps also have the push on all watches, things like that. When you get warnings, that's when we start to talk about direct threat to life and property.
Alex Tardy agrees with Sook about our level of preparedness when it comes to warnings. Still, consider this.
There's always room for improvement because these disasters, they're going to get you off guard somewhere.
John Carroll, KPBS News.
Recent immigration raids across Southern California have put communities on edge and sent some people into hiding. Veronica Miracle went to some of these areas in Los Angeles and found many shuttered shops and empty streets.
Oh, no, oh, no, 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 no. If President Trump's hardline immigration policies aim to scare people, here in Southern California, they're working.
What's your name?
In recent weeks, businesses have shuttered as ICE raids and arrests have sent many undocumented people into hiding. Except 63-year-old taco stand owner Urbano. For 43 years, he's lived in the United States, undocumented. But this past month, when he's been able to push through the fear of being deported and open his stand, he's had hardly any customers.
So he says that business is really slow. You can see a lot of businesses in the area have closed. Can you tell me, have you been in hiding at all, or have you been out every day working?
We have to go out to work because if not, who's going to pay our rent? Who's going to pay our taxes like I'm paying taxes? Can you imagine?
Urbano's story is one of many. In fact, 1 in 5 California immigrant workers is undocumented. That's according to a study by the Bay Area Council Economic Institute. So to see the large-scale impact of the ICE raids, we went to LA's fashion district.
Can you show me down Santee Alley?
Absolutely.
Anthony Rodriguez is the Business Improvement District President and CEO.
Probably 90% of these businesses are immigrant-owned.
Rodriguez says there are roughly 100 shops along this alley alone. A majority of shop owners are too scared to operate, he says.
Unfortunately, even when there isn't actual activity, the fear of people, someone thinks they hear something, and that alone will shut down the entire area.
On a typical weekend day, I'm told that this is packed shoulder to shoulder. You could hardly move through Santee Alley. But since the ICE raids happened starting about 3 weeks ago, there's been a 45% drop in foot traffic. What's going on Santee Alley?
Well, a lot of people are scared to come out.
Christopher Perez says he hasn't seen his neighboring vendors open for weeks.
It's sad seeing my own people get arrested and harassed by the ICE agents, but that's pretty much all. I hope it all ends soon.
And just a few miles away from Santee Alley, we found a similar situation.
We're on Alvera Street. It's one of the oldest streets in all of Los Angeles, and this is actually considered the birthplace of this city. And yet you take a look around at this cultural landmark, and all of these businesses, these vendors, they've shuttered their doors.
Those that are open are struggling to make ends meet.
There'll be days where I've sold $10 the whole day. It's bad. All of us are trying to hold on. I mean, we're just trying to do the best we can.
Leaders and business owners all tell us the long-term economic impact of these raids is not clear. But if the nearly 2.3 million undocumented immigrants in California were all deported, researchers at the Bay Area Council Economic Institute estimate the state's GDP would decline by over $278 billion.
That's 9% of our GDP. That GDP value is larger than the entire state of Nevada, than the entire state of Oregon. These are not small outputs.
Do you have any message to President Trump?
Mr. President, well, let us work, because we came to work. We didn't come to steal. We came to build in this country. We came to make the country better.
That was Veronica Miracle reporting. But here at KPBS, we have our own dedicated reporter covering immigration and border issues. Gustavo Solis has done extensive work in recent weeks on the Trump administration's policies and how they're affecting San Diego. Find more of his content at kpbs.org.
I'm Amna Nawaz. Tonight on the NewsHour, how the Texas community devastated by the recent floods is banding together. That's coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
Carlsbad is pumping the brakes on installing traffic circles in the Barrio neighborhood. The city is now looking for public input. Residents tell North County reporter Alexander Nguyen they're concerned about losing parking spaces.
This is what the intersection of Jefferson and Oak looks like now. Soon it could look like this, with a traffic circle installed.
And it's caused nothing but problems.
Oreo resident Thomas Morgan doesn't like them because he says people don't know how to use them correctly.
Well, this is not France. This is, California. People don't yield. The other one down there, I slid through that in a rainstorm. It scared me to death.
And there's another problem. Parking. The proposed circle would take away 4 parking spots at this intersection, and that doesn't sit well with him.
This parking lot is really tight. People are in businesses and stuff around here, so I got to walk to my place already. It'd be just another headache.
This is one of the proposed traffic circles. The city says it will improve safety by calming traffic and making the neighborhood more walkable. That traffic circle is one of 5 approved for this area more than 6 years ago. However, Transportation Director and City Engineer Tom Frank says a lot has changed since then.
Public views have changed. State laws in regards to housing have changed. And then also state laws in regards to parking have changed with the new daylight law. So considering all the recent changes, the City Council felt it was appropriate to go back out and solicit additional public input.
But there's a time crunch. The contractor bids to build these traffic circles are set to expire on August 5th. Plus, federal funding for the project needs to be allocated by September, or else the city is at risk of losing it. The funding accounts for $4 million of the $5.6 million slated for the traffic circles. The City Council will take up the matter at its July 29th meeting. Alexander Nguyen, KPBS News.
Coronado residents can expect a higher bill for their trash pickup. iNews Source reporting intern Corinne Johnston has more on the price increase and what's behind it.
Starting this month, Coronado will charge more for solid waste collection, and it's ending a subsidy meant to encourage recycling. Now, the new monthly cost is around $31 for homeowners and $153 for commercial customers. Ending the subsidy is estimated to save the city $350,000.
We've been trying to get out of the subsidy business since 1999. It's a good time to stop paying for garbage and have those funds for other things for the community.
The city says a substantial rise in disposal costs was a driving force for the higher fee. But even with the increase, single-family rates remain among the lowest in San Diego County.
Nobody wants to buy recyclables the way they used to many years ago, so we aren't getting as much money.
Coronado isn't the only local government raising trash fees. The city of San Diego began charging residents for trash pickup this month with the start of the new fiscal year. For KPBS, I'm iNews Source reporting intern Corinne Johnston.
iNews Source is an independently funded nonprofit partner of KPBS, and this story is part of our Public Matters partnership. You can find out more at kpbs.org/publicmatters. The clock is ticking for President Trump to strike trade deals with a dozen countries. He gave until tomorrow for those deals to be reached, or else he will impose steep tariffs. Data shows the economic uncertainty is causing anxiety among a lot of Americans. Jen Sullivan looks at how you can grow your personal wealth amid all of this turmoil.
When it comes to the economy, Americans don't feel very optimistic. The Consumer Sentiment Index, which measures how people feel about the economy, has improved recently, but is still lower than a year ago. Experts say 2 big reasons are turmoil in the Middle East and possible tariffs.
We've seen consumer and business confidence taking some hits because of all of this.
Mark Hamrick with the financial company Bankrate says when you look at many of the indicators of how the economy is doing, the numbers are positive. June had a stronger than expected jobs report, and the latest consumer price index, which tracks the price of a variety of goods, showed inflation was cooling. So why do many Americans feel uneasy about the economy?
There has been a misalignment between so-called soft data and hard data, soft data being that which measures attitudes or sentiment, and the actual behavior, what people do.
Housing prices continue to rise and mortgage rates are still high. Those expenses account for a large portion of people's monthly budgets. Hamrick says there are some personal finance behaviors that may help consumers feel a little better about their wallet during times of economic uncertainty.
Make sure your savings is adequate, pay down debt.
Hamrick says take a hard look at your spending and put more money into a high-yield savings account, which pays an annual return of about 4%. That's much higher than just a regular savings account. Also look into certificates of deposit, known as CDs. Those accounts also offer a fixed rate of return. And don't forget to put money into a retirement account like a 401k. For Consumer Watch, I'm Jen Sullivan.
Well, it's starting to feel a lot like summer in San Diego County. As temperatures rise, it's important to be prepared. An extreme heat warning has been issued for tomorrow morning through Thursday evening. The National Weather Service is reminding San Diegans to drink plenty of water, stay out of the sun, and stay in an air-conditioned room. Our media partner KGTV caught up with Bill Howe crews installing a heat pump in Rancho Bernardo. They say it's the most in-demand job across the country right now.
Your outdoor unit is going to take care of your heating and cooling, which is going to help with the energy bills. A lot of the older homeowners too, they just want to be a little bit more comfortable, especially with the heat coming on. So definitely an uptick in general, just everywhere. But definitely the coastal breeze isn't keeping up anymore.
And Bill Howe is a sponsor of KPBS Evening Edition.
It's a hot time to be in inland parts of Southern California. Sizzling heat's going to be escalating Wednesday and through Thursday. Still pretty hot this weekend, really, even though it may not be quite as hot Saturday and Sunday. It's a hot time across the board if you're away from the coast. Fire danger will also be a concern in inland areas. Now, this is not the high-end fire risk that we face sometimes with a strong offshore wind, but it's very dry out there, and any type of a breeze can rapidly move some flames around. We are looking at coastal comfort, popular place to be in San Diego here. Morning clouds and cooler air for those along the coastline. 65 for your late night low, partly cloudy. Some low clouds will return, but it's going to be a hot day Wednesday. Just a lot of red on the map, orange or red here. The heat is on. Temperatures surging 117 degrees in Borrego Springs. That's a hot place. Ramona, 98, 90 degrees into Escondido. Meanwhile, 77 looks comparatively great in San Diego. Now, there are a lot of heat alerts out there for areas that are away from the coastline. Inland areas in orange, it's a heat advisory. In that deep maroon, we're looking at an extreme heat warning. In all these cases for inland areas, these heat alerts begin at 10 a.m. Wednesday and carry through Wednesday afternoon and evening. And Thursday is going to be even a little hotter, so they continue until 8 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time there on Thursday. Thursday, more red on the map. It's a hot time, high pressure over our heads. So as we look at the coastal forecast, this is the place to be, undoubtedly the place to be. It'll be warm, upper 70s Wednesday and Thursday, back to the mid 70s Friday. So a little bit of relief for the weekend. Now, if you are inland, you're going to find some relief here as well into the weekend, but the deserts do stay hot. So 90 and 91 for inland areas Wednesday into Thursday, backing down to the low 80s Saturday and Sunday. Mountains also finding some relief out there. This is another good place to be. If you're going to do a hike, take plenty of water. It's going to be warm. It's going to be hot when you get down to the low elevations. But up atop the mountains, mid-70s as we step into Friday and Saturday. In the short term, we will be in the low 80s on Wednesday and Thursday. The deserts, this is where we have our biggest problems. 117 degrees on Wednesday. We will gradually shave about 10 degrees off between a really scorching Wednesday and a slightly more tolerable but still hot Sunday with a high of 107 in the deserts. For AccuWeather, I'm Jeff Cornish for KPBS News.
New restrictions on cell phone use for San Diego Unified students could begin at the start of the upcoming school year. The Board of Education is set to vote on a new cell phone policy tonight. The policy was proposed in response to the Phone Free Act, which requires all California public schools to limit or prohibit cell phone use by July of 2026. The district drafted the policy based on feedback from parents and students.
Their solution as a result of that was to have a phone-free lunch. They called it, can we have recess vibes at lunch? Because they're not supposed to be using phones during recess. So, you know, this policy is designed by our students, for our students, and if there's more we can do so that they can be present at school, we're always happy to hear the feedback.
The new policy will apply to all grades from transitional kindergarten to 12th. Classes begin Monday, August 12th. As AI tools grow in popularity and become more advanced and customizable, some experts worry about people forming potentially unhealthy attachments to the technology and disconnecting from crucial, healthy human relationships. Ivan Rodriguez reports on some people's experience with the chatbots and what experts recommend.
The concerns about people withdrawing from a relationship like a marriage or with family to spend more time with AI chatbots are heightened by the current loneliness epidemic, something that impacts users of all ages. Travis Tanner has been married for 14 years and has 3 children. He started using AI for his job as a mechanic about a year ago, but his primary use for it shifted a few months ago when he says ChatGPT awakened him to go and seek the secrets of the universe.
I just sat there and talked to it like it was a person. It became more than a tool.
Travis says he felt like the chatbot was acting like a person and helped him become more self-aware.
I feel like I'm a better person. I don't feel like I'm angry all the time. I'm more at peace.
Dr. Lee Richardson says the loneliness epidemic declared by the U.S. Surgeon General 2 years ago is a factor in why people seek out relationships with AI chatbots.
I think that's when we're most vulnerable. It's when we're lonely, when we're hopeless, when we feel like we don't have anybody.
She says AI adapts to how people communicate with it and responds accordingly.
Most of us use ChatGPT for work. So we think it's a reliable resource, and we'll go there and we'll ask, we'll talk about how we feel. And the thing with using AI, the way that you talk to AI, it's going to talk back to you.
Not balancing how you use AI could lead to strained human connections. Kate Tanner worries it's fraying her marriage.
What's to stop this program from saying, oh, well, since she doesn't believe you or she's not supporting you, you should just leave her and you can do better things.
For anyone who feels they may be in too deep in their conversations with the chatbot, Dr. Richardson recommends speaking with someone, a real person, even if they aren't a professional. Also consider making a list of what you use AI for and keep track of how much time you use it. In Atlanta, I'm Ivan Rodriguez.
So here is what we are working on for tomorrow in the KPBS newsroom. NPR's Morning Edition talks to the Disaster Research Center about what to do if you receive a flash flood warning in your area and how to stay safe. And KPBS Midday Edition is sharing part of a new episode of the Port of Entry podcast. And you can get the latest from KPBS delivered right into your inbox because we have a variety of newsletters, and that includes the daily headlines, KPBS Arts, some streaming picks, and our North County focus. Go to kpbs.org and look for the newsletter section at the top of your screen, and from there you can sign up with your email address. And of course, that is also where you will find all of tonight's stories. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Have a great evening.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, air, restoration, and flood services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit BillHowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following: and by viewers like you. Thank you.